Hi, Greg Lewis, Metastock Software. Hey, you're about to watch one of the great presentations from our recent Online Trader Summit. I know you're going to enjoy it. If you do not yet have Metastock, make sure you visit metastock.com/traders-summit 3-for-1 for a great 3-for-1 offer for Metastock plus market data. Also, make sure to listen to Jeff Gibby at the end of today's presentation. He has a really great offer. It's very exciting, and I know you're going to want to hear it. Finally, make sure to leave us some feedback. We always want to hear your feedback, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, and successful trading.
And we're going to move on to our next presenter today, which is Wendy Kirkland. And Wendy has such an interesting backstory. Let me go ahead and bring her on here. We can start to talk to her. I love Wendy's backstory. Wendy got into trading because she ran kind of like this eclectic bookshop that got flooded during one of the floods. She can tell you a little bit more about it. But then she had decided to get into trading. We developed with her this trading methodology that works in Metastock, and she's just such a nice grandmother, and I love her backstory and kind of what she's been able to do since her bookstore flooded. So Wendy, welcome to the room today.
Thank you so much. Happy Saturday, happy summit. Glad to be here.
Happy Easter weekend. Right?
Yes.
Let me go ahead and make you the presenter here. Thank you for spending some time with us today. We have a very good crowd today. I would say the majority of people here are asking really good questions. They seem very nice, and they're paying attention.
Well, that's very important.
All right, Wendy,
that's great.
I can see your PowerPoint. I'm going to get out of the way.
All right, thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. For those of you who do not know me, as Jeff said, I'm actually a great grandmother, and I came into trading through the back door in a sense. So many people do it for financial reasons. It's not that we have a financial background necessarily. As he mentioned, we were a shop owner in Asheville, North Carolina, and Hurricane Francis came through and dropped rain like crazy and flooded our shop. And then 2 weeks later, Ivan came through and did exactly the same thing as we were just beginning to start to dry out. And we truly were wiped out. And so a friend of mine mentioned option trading in a short little series of classes that she took. And so I said, well, what the heck, I'll take the electric money, but electric's not on anyway, and took the classes. And it was just a really, really good fit for me. That I had a lot more studying to do beyond those basic classes, but that was how I got started. And my forte really is in options because of the leverage of options. I know a lot of people trade Forex or into the commodities and futures and so on. My thing really is options, and we'll cover some of those basics today and what I have found that really works. I consider myself to be the everyday kind of trader, that I still trade in a sense with modest investments that appeal or fit with most everyone. Again, I didn't come from a financial background. I came from an art background. And we're going to cover some of that today as far as what I look for on the charts. I've written a number of books, a lot of them covering the basics of option trading, and then some specific strategy books. I have a website, wendykirkland.net, that lists a good many of those. What I have found as far as the elements of success, whether you're trading stocks or options or futures or Forex, are these points. And one is that You want to focus on equities that have consistent big moves. There's no sense putting all the time and effort into an equity that moves in penny increments a day. You want stocks that have big moves consistently. The next would be to zero in on equities that are either overbought or oversold. And the reason for that is the fact that they then have a good ways to go to either move up or recover, or after a big move and are overbought, they have a good ways to pull back. And then to find equities that have formed a top or a bottom, have reversed and started a new trend, and then give a confirmed entry signal. So again, my thing is option trading, and there's two types of options. There's the call options, if you have not ever really looked at options. And call options give you, the buyer, the right to require the grantor to sell the equity to you at agreed upon price at an agreed upon time, no matter how high the price is when you decide to sell your option. They must sell it to you at the agreed upon price, and you in turn sell it for the higher price and keep the difference. And this buy and sell action happens behind the scenes when you close the trade. Now, puts are exactly the opposite. They give you, the buyer, the right to require the grantor to buy the equity from you at an agreed upon price, at an agreed upon time, no matter how low the price is when you decide to sell your option. They must buy it from you at the agreed upon price, and you in turn buy it at the lower price and keep the difference. The sell and the buy again happens behind the scenes when you close the trade. So, whoops, I skipped too far. Let's look at one so you can see what the leverage of options is. And this is just an example. If you were to purchase options on McDonald's, the fast food company that we all know, and its price of the stock is $150, and you're interested in the contracts at a 150 strike, which is very close to the price of the stock, because you feel the price is ready to move up, and you pay $3 per share for the 100-share contract that's going to expire in 2 months, for then $300 per contract, and you buy 2 contracts for $600. The stock price goes up to $155, and your premium is now $7 per share when you decide to sell. The contract happens behind the scenes at the exchange. The transaction happens behind the scenes. You paid $3 and you sell for $7, and you keep the $4 difference per share. You have 200 shares, and so you realize an $800 gain on your $600 total investment on those 2 contracts. So that is a 133% gain in your transaction and based on your investment. So this shows the leverage that options give you. You're able to get into trades often for what would be like a down payment, and yet you reap the benefit of the price move on the total whole of the property, say, or the stock. So the first key that I listed of the ones that were up there is to find equities with big moves. And to do that, you can add an indicator called the average true range, or ATR. And in this particular case, what I am suggesting that you do is to, let me get my little pointer thing here. Is that you're going to be looking for equities that move 1.5% to 2% per day. And in this case, I have Northrop Grumman up here. A 1.5% move would be $2.85. And we can see down here on the indicator that it moves more like $3.20 or $3.10. So this then would be a good equity to begin creating a watch list, because what you're looking for is stocks that have consistent big moves, that you want 1.5 to 2% ATR per day on the equity. So here's another one. This is Alibaba. And I can look up here and see that its current price on this chart is 83. So that would be $1.66. And its current ATR on this chart is $2.35, say. So again, this would create or be a good candidate for a watch list. So the next element you would say for success that was listed was you want something that was recently overbought or oversold, so that it has a good way to go either back to the high or retrace. And so what I have done is to add kind of a tweaked CCI to this chart. And we call this the Kirkland Commodity Channel Index. And the boundary lines, if you want to say, is minus 100 and 100. So when it flows down below minus 100, you're going to be oversold. And when it flows back up over 100, you're going to be overbought. And I sometimes call these the fins, that they kind of look like the fins float, shark fins, say, floating above the top of the boundary line. So this is our one of our indicators that's going to help us zero in after we have created our list of equities that have high ATR. All right, our next indicator is the percentage price oscillator. And this is going to tell us about trend, that in this particular case, as the red line crosses over the blue line, shows us trend direction. And so as we have a cross up here, that is showing that we're going into a bullish trend. As it crosses down here, it is pulling back and becoming more bearish. And so it trades in the direction of the cross, up or down. And then again, we have the CCI on this chart. All right, the next indicator is the Kirkland oscillator, and this is going to help us to zero in on our actual entries. So at this point, we have focused in on stocks with big moves. We've found a way to figure out overbought, oversold. We can now see previous trends and new trends with trend reversals and the start of a new trend with the Kirkland PPO. And now we're getting our entry signal from the Kirkland oscillator. And so we have these horizontal lines here on the Kirkland oscillator. We'll call it the KO. And where we will enter is when, say, on the long side would be when the red line crosses up above and out of the zone. Here is a short trade entry where it has crossed down and out the bottom of the zone. So we're going to look at some specific trades here so that you can see how you can use this. This is kind of putting it all together. First here we have, I've switched the oscillators around now in the order that I kind of use them. And so we can look and see that we have an extreme oversold here. So that was our recent oversold area. Then we have had a PPO cross up showing a new trend direction. And this would be our entry down here on the KO has crossed up and over the top of the zone. And in this case, it pulled back a little bit and then had a second cross. So this actually gives us a place where we could add to our trade, or if you missed this entry, you could be entering again. And so that runs through the whole kind of setup that you are looking for recently overbought, oversold, new trend direction setting up, and then the entry of the KO. All right, so let's look at this one. This is Visa, and so we can see right here that we were recently oversold, dropped way back here, has moved up and is between the 100 lines, and that's where we want it for our entries. But now we need the other two indicators to confirm that we are the timing is right. So we have the PPO cross up. It has just barely crossed, and the KO is heading up, but it has not crossed yet through and out of the top of the zone. So we're waiting. We're still on a pause here. And of course, with our ATR, we know right from the get-go that this is a stock that has consistent big moves. So let's see what happens next. We still have the CCI in the middle of the between the 100 lines. That's where we want it. We don't want it to have already moved way up and out the top and to have had the move already started and be well on its way before we get in. We are still have a PPO cross here, so it's telling us that the new direction is still underway. And again, the Kirkland oscillator has just barely touched that upper line and has pulled back. It has not popped out of the top. So still we are not in this trade. All right, so still we're between the 100 lines. The PPO is crossed up a little while back there. It had crossed back down and has now crossed back up. And the Kirkland oscillator, the KO, has headed up, but it still hasn't popped out of the top. And this has kept us out of a trade, having our money tied up for nearly a month. All right, one more go here. And there it is. Finally, we're back in this area that we had the CCI was still at the time of entry was still in the middle between the 100 lines, still had the PPO up and moving upward. And finally, right here on the 5th of October, we had the Kirkland oscillator pop out of the top, and then our exit was on 11/27. So you want all of the elements working in your favor, not just a new trend, not just a high-rated ATR stock, not just a stock that's been overbought or oversold. You want all of the elements working in your direction as confirmations that it's not just that a new trade is starting, but you want it to confirm that it really is getting ready to get going. All right, so in this particular trade, just so we can look at the results here, one is that you should be aware that a 2.5% to 4% equity move often equates to a double in a weekly option premium, and an 8 to 10% move will equate to a double in a monthly option premium. And this is the reason why you want to trade high ATR stocks. So in this particular situation that we just went through, we purchased calls after the KO crossed up through the touch zone for $2.90 a share, or $290 per contract for the January 92.50 strike call. And let's say we bought 2 contracts for a total investment of $590, and we sell at the end of the day on November 27th, and the call contracts were then worth $7.55, or $750 per contract, for a gain of $465. For the 2 contracts, it would be $930, or 160%. And so again, this is the leverage that you are able to make in option trading. So the price when we entered the trade was $71, and we sold, it was close to 80, 79.84. So this was a $8.78 change in price. That's a 12% increase in the stock's price over that trading period, and yet the option increase was 160%. For the investment of $590, which was our total investment, we controlled more than $14,000 worth of stock. And had we placed that investment in options, we could have purchased 49 contracts and earned $22,000 in profit. Now, not very many people would be investing $14,000 in any one trade, but what that does is shows you the leverage that you have, because you're controlling $14,000 worth of stock and you're reaping the benefit of that price move during the period of time that you are holding the option. So it's just, again, another good example of the leverage that you have trading options. So here's another example that we have some bullish candles up here that that's something that you can learn about from Steve Bigelow if that's an area of interest to you. And again, this is a high ATR stock. So we're looking at recently oversold. You can see that right here. And then it's kind of flattened out and is right again between minus 100 and 100. It's right in the middle of that area. The PPO is just getting ready to cross up, and yet the Kirkland oscillator, the KO, is still, it's heading up, but it still has a way to go yet before crossing up and above through the touch zone. So this is what has happened next. It actually pulled back. It wasn't ready to continue up. It dropped well below the minus 100 and kept going down, and now it's heading back up again. The PPO crossed down, and so we're going to wait now for another indication that it's ready to move up by crossing up and showing us the new direction. And again, you can see the KO came right up there and touched that lower boundary of the touch zone and then pulled back and is now just starting to head back up again. When you get used to looking at the indicators, it's all so very clear. All right, so we have, again, prices setting up. The pattern is setting up. We have the CCI is between the minus 100 and the 100. PPO has crossed up. Can't really see much white space between the lines yet, but indeed the red line is crossed above the blue one there. And again, we have the Kirkland oscillator. It's getting very close, but it has not actually crossed yet. And so from when we were first beginning to look at this, we have gone from the end of August and now we're in October. So it has kept us out of a trade, and we've missed getting in where we might have, and then had it pulled back and flattened out and dropped back further, gone up a little, flattened out. It has kept us out of those swings. So here we're at our trade entry. We still have the CCI is between the minus 100 and the 100. PPO is crossed up now. We're starting to see a little white space between the red and the blue lines. And we have just popped above the touch zone here on the Kirkland oscillator. And so this is how the trade played out. It continued to move up, gapped up, and then this is where we have our exit. So you can fully see how the Kirkland oscillator popped above that touch zone, went all the way up here and started creating this little peak. And that was one of our signals that it was time to exit. You can also see here that the PPO is getting ready to cross down. So this is the way this particular trade again played out, so that you can see the benefit of options. That had we purchased calls on October 26th, when the KO crossed through that touch zone for $17.40 a share, or $1,740 per contract for the 275 strike. And let's say we just bought one contract, because this has a hefty premium, for a total investment of $1,740, and we sold at the end of the day on November 4th. Those contracts were then worth $40.30, or $4,030 for that one contract, for a gain of $2,290, or 132% gain. So the price when we entered the trade was $2.65. When we sold, it was $307. And so that was about a $42 change in price. That's again a nice move, 16% in the stock's price over that trading period, while the option increased 132%. Again, for that investment of $1,700, we controlled $26,000 worth of stock. And had we placed that same stock investment in options, we could have purchased 13 contracts and earned $29,000 in that one trade. Again, that's a crazy amount to invest in any one trade, more than most of us would be able to manage. But again, it shows that leverage that you can achieve through option trading. So let's look at a put. This is the opposite, that we're looking now for a downward move. And so we're looking for a recently overbought condition, where it's up at an extreme above the 100 line, and then crossing down and going into the zone between 100 and minus 100. We're looking for a PPO cross down to show us the trend has changed from being bullish and is now becoming bearish, and we are looking for a cross down below the touch zone on the KO. So here we are. We would have had an entry here in the early weeks of June, where we crossed down here through the KO, and then had an exit the first week or so in August. And you would have again reaped the the benefits of this drop in price. So the results for that put for Newmont Mining, that you would have purchased puts after the open on June 5th when the KO crossed through the touch zone for $1.25 or 125 per contract for the September 25 strike calls. And let's say you bought 5 contracts for a total investment of $625. And so you sell it at the end of the day on August 10th, and the contracts were then worth $7.95 or $795 per contract. That is a gain of $3,350 or 536% gain in that move. Sometimes the very, very best trades are put trades, and they happen hard and fast. All right, so we've covered all of the elements. That first, we are looking for stocks with consistent big moves that have been recently overbought, oversold, meaning that they have a good way to go to recover to a previous level. They've put in a bottom or a top and are reversing and beginning a new trend. That's our PPO tells us that. And then the KO gives the confirmed entry signal and cuts out a lot of the false starts. We saw that on several of those charts where it would have kept us out for as long as a month or two, 6 weeks, I think, on one of them, where our money wouldn't have been tied up. We wouldn't have been nervous. We wouldn't have wondered, well, should I sell? As it hit my stop, what should I do here? You wouldn't have gotten into that trade. It wasn't ready yet. And these are what these indicators give you, the information that they give you. Now, Metastock has made this really, really easy. They have set up a scan and a simplified chart that gives us the information that we were looking at earlier on the charts. So they actually have it set up so that you can see this line at the bottom of the chart tells us overall whether it is bullish or bearish. And it's very, very clear with the green and red colors. They also have set it up so that it has sell and buy arrows. And again, that is a visual that makes it very easy, very clear to see. You can run a scan and have the information laid out here as far as the CCI, the ATR. It's going to tell you about the PPO, whether it's bullish or bearish, and then the Kirkland oscillator. So you're going to want all of those to agree with each other. This is a look of another stock with the KO on it that you can see here. We had a sell signal as it popped up here above the top of the zone and then dropped right back down and stayed down there, and then finally had a little rise here and then has come back, and we're looking now, it's pressing back up into that zone area, but it has not crossed out of the top, so that we are still early yet because it has not moved above. So in addition to the simple setup, there's those of us that want to see all the indicators. We want to see it for ourselves and to make sure that it has qualified in all of the ways that I have just gone over, as far as it being not just the ATR being at an appropriate percentage, but that you have the CCI is showing overbought or oversold, that the PPO has crossed in the trade direction, and then you have the KO is heading into the zone or out of the zone, so that we're making those decisions looking at all of the chart indicators. So we can go back here to this buy signal and know that the ATR was at a high level, that it had been recently oversold. There's this real low peak here. Then we had the cross up out of the top of the zone. It actually slipped back, but it had popped out. Can sit and see the, oh, that's the CCI. I'm looking at this one. The CCI had popped out of the top of the zone once we had entered. We had the PPO cross up, came down here and touched the signal lines a couple times, but didn't actually cross down. And you can see the KO here has popped up above the upper level and then stayed up on through the end of September. And then it clearly shows you where your exit would be, where it has changed. All right, let's see, the next chart here kind of goes through and gives you a look at how you can run a scan, and so that you're not having to just pull these equities, looking through a bunch of them and pull them out of the air as far as the signals, that you can actually run a scan in Metastock and have it show you, the equities that are have a high ATR and that then are giving either a bearish or bullish entry signal. Also, in this write-up area that's over here on the right-hand side, I give you some guidelines as to what options to select and so on. Jeff, are you there where you can actually show how to do the scans? I'm not sure if he's here listening to us or not. Jeff, are you there? Well, evidently not. Let's see if I can get this. It's not what I'm looking to do. I was trying to get so that I could, there we go. On this right-hand side again, gives instructions as to, based on the chart time frame that you are trading, and this strategy and scan setup and all works for any time frame. You can use it for a daily chart. There you are.
Yeah, I was grabbing more coffee.
Well, I figured that might have been what you were up to.
Yeah.
But,
one of those.
I wondered if you could. Whether you could show the folks how to scan and the option information that's there on the side that kind of gives some guidelines as far as what options to select and so on.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, let's go ahead and come in here. Let's see. One of the questions that kind of leads perfectly into this, Scott asked a really good question that I was actually typing an answer to. But he wanted to know if you could do your own scans, or you can do your own list based on whether they have liquidity or weekly options or stuff like that. And the answer to that is absolutely, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and take back the screen here right now. And I'm actually in the middle of running this scan. It's almost done. So you can kind of see how the scan's running. What we've got is we've got about, it's almost done. It's 99% done. And it's rejecting, it's got about 4 seconds left. It's rejecting about 99% of the scan that I'm doing. So Scott, let's talk a little bit about your question. You will, right here, you'll notice that there's actually an AST pre-filter scan that Wendy designed. And it's actually designed to find stocks and make a list of stocks that are more than $25 and have a volume of 950,000 or greater. And you can actually run that as a pre-filter scan, or you can create your own. It's actually very, very easy. I have a bit of an article that I wrote a year or two ago that actually talks about how you go in and define exactly what criteria you want. And it was just a little blog post. If you want, I can dig it up and I'll email it to you. But you can absolutely build your own list for Metastock to run the scan against it. The way that the instrument list is structured, like right now I've got the the Wendy Kirkland automatic swing trader scan. Actually, it completed, so that's why you see the little R there. And what I did is I ran it against my own pre-filtered list of securities based on their close price and their volume. And so what I was doing is 2,494 stocks, and of those, that's just a filtered list of the optionable list. So you can absolutely go at any list that you want. Any list that you've custom built in Metastock will show up under custom online data lists. And any of the groups of lists that you might be interested in are kind of in this public online data list. So like, for example, if you're an ETF trader, you can drill into North America here and you'll have a list of all of the ETFs that you can just scan against. If you're in Europe and let's say you wanted to trade London, there's a list in here for London that you put a check mark right there. You can run the scan against anything that you want. If you have a personal list of maybe 50 or 100 stocks that you want to put into Metastock and just scan that personal list, you can absolutely do that. The program is very, very flexible. In this case, with Wendy's product, what we have is we've got a pre-filter list. You run that maybe once a quarter or so. Once you get the results back, you save that list into like your custom favorites list right here. And that's the list of the securities you run against. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question. Okay, the way that this particular report comes back is you're going to have an idea of anything that's long in that list. And one of the things that you can rank this list by is the average true range. One of the things that I really like about Wendy's stuff is if we kind of look into it, it's designed to help you find stocks with the highest potential. And the way Wendy kind of gets right to the nuts and bolts of the matter is by how much a stock on average moves in a potential day. And so right here, if you're kind of looking for opportunities, and let's say you want to take a long trade, you can look at kind of how much it moves on average in a given day and get a good ascertation of how that would work or of which ones you want to trade based on their average daily movement. Okay. I do also kind of want to show a bit of a stock example here. And here we go. One of the questions we had was right with Newmont Mining. Okay. Where do you see the symbol? Now, these weren't, the symbol's just right here, NEM. You can also see it in the commentary window right here, Newmont Mining NEM. Okay. So that was another question that I was trying to answer, but I just couldn't show the answer to. What I like about Wendy's is it's a very, very straightforward system. Like what it's looking to do is help you find stocks with the highest potential with ATR, identify the stocks which are at a turning point, notify you when the new trend has begun, and protect you from whipsaws. And this is all fairly automatic underneath the actual system. So when you get a buy signal on a chart, it's already kind of identified that all 4 of the indicators, the CCI, the PPO, the oscillator, the average true range kind of fit into that criteria. The other thing that we had a question on is one of you guys said, you know, it doesn't necessarily look like the sell signals are painted or the exit signals are painted on the chart on this one. And that's absolutely true, because depending on like what type of an option that you want to take and what time frame you're looking at, the exit signals are a little bit different. So let me show you what I mean. So in this case, I've moved our commentary bar. You'll notice there's a little triangle here. It's pointing at this buy signal. So if we were looking at Newmont mining back in 2017, you're going to see this buy signal on the chart. You're going to open up the commentary, and it's going to get really, really specific for you. So this module has taken into account special CCI parameters for recent oversold conditions, a PPO cross, and it's signaling a new bullish trend direction. Okay. But if you're interested in taking advantage of this, you should consider intermediate term call options 2 to 3 months before expiration when it's based on a daily chart, which is what I'm looking at right now. If you're looking at a 60-minute chart, you'll look 2 to 3 weeks out. If you're looking at a 30-minute chart, 1 to 2 weeks out. And 15 to 10-minute charts, you'll add the current week expiration for any of those types of trades. These signals will generally last from anywhere between 4 to 6, from days to 4 to 6 weeks, depending on your time frame. Okay, here's what you should look for. Wendy was very, very specific about this. She did a really good job designing this out. But you're going to look for call options that are at the money or out of the money with a delta of 40. Okay, if you're more conservative, you might want to consider a call option with more intrinsic value, usually 1 to 2 strikes in the money. Okay, now how do you get out of this trade? Well, right here, if we kind of scroll down, it's going to say once long traders should place a stop order at today's low or yesterday's low, whichever is less. Once in an established trade, traders should look to exit the position 2 weeks before the option's expiration date, unless the position is very deep in the money where time decay is no longer an issue. And you should also put a stop loss order at 33.24 with a stop loss value of between 20 and 25% of your initial entry price. It goes on. So she's very, very thorough here, but it's going to tell you about how you can look to take profit when the CCI hits an extreme level, flattens out, and begins to turn down, or 2 weeks before the expiration date. So a lot of really, really specific detail in terms of when you should get out of the trade, how you should manage it, where you should trail your stops so that you kind of can lock in your profits on the way up. Wendy, you did a great job with this thing. So
Thank you very much.
So let's see a couple of other questions. Is it possible to subscribe to this software on a monthly basis? Well, the Wendy Kirkland software, that's a really good question, Stanley. It's actually a one-time cost. So you buy it, you own it as a one-time cost, and you don't have to pay for it monthly. So it includes the Kirkland PPO, the Kirkland oscillator. It includes the template she was showing. She showed the full and a clean template. Okay. Normally, if you just bought this off of our website for use with your MetaStock program, it would cost you $499. Here at the webinar, at the summit, we're going to offer that to you for $399 with a 30-day money-back guarantee. We want you to buy it. We want it to be helpful for your trading, and we want to give you, as a trader, a very good risk-reward offer on this. If it works and it helps you, great, keep it. I know a lot of you don't have MetaStock yet. Thank you for coming to today's session. We'll include access to MetaStock with this, either the end-of-day product or the real-time product, so you can fully evaluate it, of course. So to take advantage of that, give us a call, 800-882-3040. And remember, it's part of the bundle package that we're offering today. So you can get Steve Bigelow's, Vince Vora's, Wendy Kirkland's, and the Price Heedley Big Trend Toolkit, all included. Individually, the cost for that would be over $4,000. We're throwing in 3 months of access to MetaStock. The Big Trend Toolkit price is up next. You get 2 years of stocks and commodities as part of your purchase, which is great. It's a really good magazine. You'll get 3 months of access to MetaStock and our MetaStock Zenith data, which is our data is arguably, and I would argue it's one of the best data providers on the earth today. They've spent over $1 billion in actually getting you real-time news and information. They've got 2,700 full-time journalists across 300 different news bureaus. It's literally a product that they built to compete with Bloomberg. We're including that for you. It's amazing. So it'll also include the MetaStock Bootcamp, April 12th at 6 p.m. And that's where I'm going to sit down and show you, kind of the tips and tricks of how to work around with Metastock, how to use everything. And we're also going to give you an online course of $99. The whole thing comes with a money-back guarantee. You can order it at 800-882-3040. The cost on this package is $4,000. Here at the summit today, we're going to offer it to you for $1,696. 800-882-3040. You can visit us online at metastock.com/saleschat for that. We're running a little bit ahead of schedule. I don't know how that happened, but let's go ahead and take some questions since we have some trick. Michael says, did you say you could run only ask qualifying stocks with weekly options? You can do that, Michael. What you probably want to do is drop me an email when you get set up. I've written a couple of blog posts about how to actually exactly set that up. It's a few steps. You just follow the steps and you'll have exactly what you need to get going with that. Al asked a question, how do you choose what expiration date is in there? And you might have asked this before we actually showed it to you, but I'll show it to you. Right here, if you're looking at a daily chart, Wendy was very, very specific in saying, okay, if you're looking at a daily chart, 2 to 3 months before expiration. Whereas if you're looking at a 60-minute chart, 2 to 3 weeks out. So it depends on the time frame which you're using to get the signal, but it's very, very clearly identified right here for you. Is the CCI and other indicators are not found in TOS? CCI is included in Thinkorswim, and I'm sure they have average true range. It's a very, very standard indicator. The Kirkland PPO and the Kirkland oscillator were built for this product, and I don't believe that they're available in Thinkorswim. Okay. Jay asked a question, can we tweak Wendy's default settings? Not in this product, Jay, but thank you for asking. Carol asked, what is real time? What is RT? Metastock RT just stands for real time, so it's a real time version of Metastock. Zenith is a product that we white label. It powers our data feed for Metastock. So if we'll go into a little bit of the company history of Metastock during our session, but we used to be wholly owned by Thomson Reuters. We actually bought ourselves back from Reuters maybe a couple years ago, and it's been a good buyback. We really enjoyed not being owned by Reuters, but we have a good relationship with them. And one of the things that we do is if you understand where Reuters is positioned in the market, it's a $19 billion company, and 90% of what they do to generate money is they sell media and real-time information on stocks to brokers and institutions. And they're a competitor to Bloomberg. They have, again, like 2,700 reporters and 300 different news bureaus. It's an amazing operation. And what we do is this package that they designed that they charge institutions for, we've white labeled. And we call it Metastock Zenith. They call it Metastock Icon. But the thing is if you're an individual trader, you can get Reuters quality news and information, but you don't have to pay the institutional rates for it. We can only really, so that's what Zenith is. Zenith's a massive product. It'll do anything from telling you how the economy's doing, gives you breaking news and information. It gives you kind of the earning statements. It gives you really good video and analytics and insight. We could spend a whole hour on Zenith and what it does. I mean, it goes as far as you can go in and see how good a stock is trending on Twitter and stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff in there. But it's a product in a nutshell that they spent $1 billion designing and developing as a competitor to Bloomberg, and people love it. It's a really sharply growing part of our demographic, and it's included with that package. So you get to play with it and see what it is. So Carol, that was a long-winded answer to your question, but I think it probably gives you a good idea of what you're doing. Bill asked a good question. Can we trade options using Metastock and pricing of the platforms? Yes. Now, where Metastock excels in option trading, it doesn't execute the trades for you, but where it excels is finding stocks that have good options to trade. the scanning, the research capabilities. So a lot of us will use different brokers here, like I myself use Thinkorswim. One of our guys is using Robinhood. You can use whoever you want. You don't have to move your funds all over to Metastock. What we're going to kind of add to kind of the value proposition of what you're doing is we're going to help you find better opportunities faster. So the idea is instead of going out and looking at 6,000 different stocks, in the case of Wendy Kirkland, what you have the ability to do is actually go in and find the ones that have an opportunity today. Like at the very first trading summit where we were talking about this, one of the attendees says, so it's like it takes out the trash for you and just leaves you with what's good. That's exactly one of the things that it does. But it does a lot more than that, but it's probably the most beneficial thing that it does. It also does like system testing. It has a really cool forecasting module in it. It gives you real-time alerts and real-time signals. It'll email you when stuff happens. I mean, it's a toolbox we've literally designed for the last 30-something years. It's literally been won best software in its price category for like 24, 25 years in a row. There's a lot of things in this toolbox, but among the core ones are testing of ideas, finding of opportunities, and understanding how to advantage and take advantage of those opportunities. So hopefully that helped. Michael, I don't know what you're thanking me for, but you're welcome. Eric says, and I think we have just enough time to do this, can you show how this looks on a 60-minute chart? So if you have Metastock already, you know how to do this. I'm just going to change it to a 60-minute chart. So here's an hourly example of Newmont mining. And then I think what we'll do, and this is kind of how it would look on Newmont mining. We just got issued a buy signal here on the 60-minute chart. I'm going to throw in a different symbol here. Let's see DIA, for example. DIA, if you're not familiar with what DIA is, I don't see anything on a 60-minute chart. Oh, here we had a buy setup right at the bottom of this, or right kind of at this V setup. So you can definitely apply it to a 60-minute chart and see how it works. With Wendy's, it's selective enough that you may look at stocks that don't give a lot of setups, and I'd say that that's by design. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and go back into this. Again, the Trader's Toolbox, it gives you Steve Bigelow's candle profit systems. It gives you Veracity, gives you Kirkland's. We've got Price Headley coming up in just a second. And these are all very popular, amazing add-ons. If we made a list of my favorite 5, these 4 would probably make that list of 5. So for the Trader's Toolbox, you're going to get all 4 add-ons. You get 3 months of access to Big Trend Toolkit because that's a monthly subscription. You'll get 2 years of stocks and commodities. You'll get 3 months of access to Metastock Real-Time, the real-time version of our platform, and 3 months of access to that Metastock Zenith that I spent probably 2 or 3 minutes too many talking about. But it is a great product. People love it. You'll get the boot camp that I'm going to do on April 12th. You'll get Unleash the Power of Metastock. All of that is bundled together for about $1,700, where it'd be normally $4,000. So it's a discount of like, I think it was like 59%. If I'm wrong, just tell me the actual math in the thing. I calculated it yesterday though. So to take advantage of that, 800-882-3040. Visit us online at metastock.com/saleschat. I know a bunch of you tried to call in a little bit earlier and it was very busy. That's died down a little bit right now. So 800-882-3040 to take advantage of that. And let's go ahead and kind of talk about stocks and commodities. You can get a free issue of Stocks and Commodities magazine. To do that, just for coming today, because Stocks and Commodities is an awesome partner of ours. They're offering an absolutely free issue. And, I can usually go into like a 5 or 10 minute rant about you're moving in one direction or the other. You're either improving, you're not improving. Education is so good, and it's an ongoing process. I go home every day, and my daughter asks me what I learned at work today, and I try and think of 1 or 2 good things to tell her every day. But you're always kind of moving in one direction, or you're idling and kind of falling back. And to kind of read about different concepts and have something delivered to you on a weekly or a monthly basis, I should say, it's a great way to make sure you're kind of sharpening your knives. And understanding what you're doing. So thanks to Stocks and Commodities for sponsoring us. Get your free issue. And again, if you buy any of the products today, you're going to get at least a free 5-month subscription for for Stocks and Commodities. If you do the bundle package, you'll get a 2 free year subscription. Okay.